Okay, good afternoon, students. Am I audible? I repeat, am I audible? Okay, so let's start today's session. So before starting today's class, let's see what are the questions asked in last quiz. That means the questions related to guided transmission medium. Okay, so these are the questions as you can see on the screen. These are the questions asked in the last quiz. Okay, so these questions are completely about the guided transmission medium that we discussed in our last class. So as you can see here, the first question is the simplest question. The transmission mediums are usually categorized into. So we started with this point only. So the communication mediums are categorized into guided and unguided transmission medium. So based on the physical characteristics, that means how the signal is transmitted, whether it is guided by a physical medium or not. Okay, so all wide transmission medium falls under guided transmission medium, and all the wireless transmissions falls under unguided transmission medium. So the answer for this particular question is guided and unguided. Okay, so coming to the second question, dash cable consists of an inner copper core and a second conducting outer sheath. Okay, so if you recollect, every communication mediums need two cables. Okay, so one cable carries the actual signal and the other cable carries the reference signal, or you can say neutral signal. Okay, now in twisted pair, as you can remember, the cable is helical in nature. That means these two cables is twisted one with one another. If you go with coaxial cable, so coaxial cable has an inner conductor. Okay, this will be covered by a plastic material. Okay, followed by that we have a mesh, an outer conductor come protective braided mesh, which you can say is something like a Faraday cage which will stop. So the answer for this particular question is the coaxial cables. Okay, so the coaxial cables contains the inner core and outer conductor as protective shield. Okay, now coming to the third question, in fiber optics, the signal is dash waves. That means, as you can see, every communication medium will be carrying different types of signals. So they can be pure electrical signals, or they can be electromagnetic signals, or they can be light waves. Okay, so this light, again we have two things, visible and invisible light. Now which medium carries electrical signals means normal copper wires can carry electrical signals. Electromagnetic signals means wireless. Okay, light waves means optical fibers, glass. So the answer for this particular question is light waves. Okay, coming to the fourth question. So yeah, so the fourth question is about what is the major factor that makes the coaxial cable less susceptible to noise than the twisted phase. So as I said just now, in coaxial cable, the inner conductor is protected by an outer shield. Okay, so that shield is nothing but outer conductor will make sure that no external signals gets into your inner conductor. Okay, so this stops everything. So the main reason is answer B, outer conductor. So plastic sheet is just for insulating one another at the same time to avoid things like corrosion. So if these metals directly comes in contact with different gases in the air, then obviously the metals start corrosion can occur in those metals. So to avoid that, these plastic sheets are used. So cladding is a component in optical fibers. So core is the center point, whether it is optical fiber or twisted pair, optical fiber or coaxial cable. So the answer for this particular question is B, outer conductor. Now coming to this question, in optical fibers, the inner core is dash, then the cladding. Okay, so if you take optical fibers main working principle is total internal reflection. So the outer cladding must have less density compared to core high density, then only total internal reflection is possible. So the inner core is denser than the cladding, the outer part. So that is the answer. Coming to the next question, in single mode optical fiber, the less difference in density regulates in a critical angle that is close enough to degrees. See, in these optical fibers, when step index single mode fiber, the difference is very minimum between these two densities. So because of that, even though you send a signal where, see, when a signal is imposed, this angle is called angle of what I think I forgot that point. So angle of impose. So the light imposing angle is nothing but the critical angle where the signal will go through this surface. Now the critical angle of this particular cable, the step index a single mode cable, is almost 90. That means if you recollect, the signal appears like it is going in straight line manner. So when the signal will go in straight line manner, when the impose angle is almost 90 degrees. Okay, this angle is almost 90 degrees. So it will appear like it is not at all reflecting, it is going like in straight line. Okay, with very small angle. So the angle of impedance, that is nothing but the critical angle, is 90 in this particular case. The answer is 90. Now coming to the next one, 7 by 125 fiber is used in single mode. All the remaining that I showed in the PPT is multi-mode. Okay, so this is there is no need for explanation, it is just to remember. And the last question, dash cable generally used in both voice and data communication. So out of these two, out of these three options, this option is used for both voice and data communication. This coaxial cable is used to be for voice and data communication, but no more use. So generally, when they ask you to give a single option, then the best option for this particular question is twisted. Optical fiber are not suitable for voice communication because the voice bandwidth is very low, where you are wasting almost like 99% of the optical fibers bandwidth, resource waste chestam. So to avoid that, optical fibers are not at all employed in voice communication. Okay, so they are used in data communication, where maybe that data may be your voice, but the main component will not be your voice. Okay, so the general cable that is normally used for voice communication is twisted pair. So the answer is B. So these are the questions that are asked in the last class. So I think everything is clear. So let's start today's session. Okay. So in today's class, we are going to see about unguided transmission medium, which is also called as wireless transmission medium. Okay, so wireless transmission medium means what are the different types of wireless transmission mediums that are available, and what are the fundamental properties, and what are the applications. Okay, so before starting the session, just look at the diagram. So this figure shows different frequency ranges and their corresponding names. Okay, so as you can see here, up to this particular point, it is invisible spectrum completely. Okay, so that means not radio spectrum, not invisible. So up to this particular point, up to 100 gigahertz, the free, I mean the frequencies are called radio spectrum. From 100 gigahertz, the frequencies are called optical spectrum. Okay, so out of these, the visible spectrum is this part, 10 THz, terahertz to 10 power. I mean, it's around 1000 terahertz, something like that. Okay, so this is the basic spectrum. So this is somewhat important, but the better explanations I will show you. So just remember this. Now, yeah. So unguided transmission mediums transport electromagnetic waves without using a physical conductor. Okay. So unguided transmission medium is an transports electromagnetic waves. So electromagnetic waves, I don't want to explain those things. So which have both electrical and magnetic components. So they will be moved in all directions normally, because there is nothing to guide the signal. So that's why it is called unguided transmission medium. So if I make you recollect, normally any wireless signal, even though it started with a single point, it will be keep on expanding because it is not guided. Okay, whereas in guided transmission medium, there is not, I mean, no place to expand, because when the signal is transmitted, it must go through the medium only, it can't go out. Okay, so that's the reason why it is called unguided transmission medium. So in unguided transmission medium, electromagnetic waves are used. Okay, so the type of communication is also referred as wireless communication. So unguided or wireless, the answer will be same in your exams point of view. Okay, so unlike guided transmission medium, in unguided, signals are normally broadcast through free space. Okay, and thus available to everyone. So this point is important. So this point make sure that normally you can use guided transmission medium for point to point connections, whereas unguided by default, by their physical nature, is a broadcasting medium. Okay, that means when someone sends a signal to someone else, whoever is there in that vicinity can get that signal, can hear that signal. If they know the meaning of that signal, they can understand that signal. Okay, so here in unguided transmission medium, since it is a broadcast medium, you need to concentrate on how to limit collisions. So in point to point links, there is very less chances of getting collisions. That means in wired communication, there is very less chances of getting collision. But in wireless communication, where you are using this unguided transmission medium, which is nothing but a broadcast medium, there is nothing to, I mean, physically, I mean, there is no mechanism to limit collisions. So you need to logically implement how to limit the collisions. That means you need to logically concentrate on who can access the media, who can send the signals, and when someone sending signal, how the others will know that someone is speaking. Okay, so simple ga cheppali ante wireless transmission medium is like our, if you take our classroom, where in the classroom, if someone speaks, say, you may be thinking that you are just speaking something with your friend just beside you, but not just your friend, all the people in that room will hear your voice. Okay, that's what we are calling disturbance in the class. Okay, so wireless transmission medium is like that, it is a broadcast medium. Okay, so this is another representation of the spectrum. So as you can see here, it has more different types of excuse me, Ramesh. So as you can see here, the spectrum is further divided into different categories. So from 10 power 4 to 10 power 8, near to 10 power 8, it is called radio waves. Okay, and from 10 power 8 to 10 power something like 11, it is called microwaves. And from 10 power 11 to 10 power 14, it is called infrared. Okay, and the next one is visible light. So as you are already know, the visible light is used in optical fibers. So we are concentrating on these three things: radio waves, microwaves, infrared. So radio waves has certain features, microwaves has certain features, infrared has certain features. So because of those physical parameters, their communication has some limitations. So those things we are going to discuss. So in the bottom, as you can see, these things in wireless, where they are used. So in maritime, in AM radios, FM radios, and a TV communication, terrestrial microwave communication, in different places we are going to use them. So this is another diagram, somewhat important diagram. These two diagrams, just look here. So these are two diagrams, not just one diagram. So up to this point, the first diagram. So as you can see here, the top diagram shows the frequency and their corresponding usage. So as you can see, up to 10 square, that means 100 hertz. Normally, the signals are used in electrical signals. That means nothing but power lines. So normal గా మన ఇంటికి వచ్చే ఏసీ కరెంట్ ఏ ఫ్రీక్వెన్సీ యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాడు, 60 to 100 హెడ్జెస్ యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాడు. Then from 100 plus to up to 10 power 6, you can see the low frequency communication happened within the computer. Then from 10 power 6 to around, you are using in radio communication. Then the latter signal is used in wireless telephones. Okay, then the microwaves. Okay, then the infrared radiation, then the visible light, then the ultraviolet light, then followed by x-rays. Okay, gamma rays, all these things. So this is the spectrum. So every frequency has one particular limitation. An antenna which you are using for sending this particular signal, the antenna length must be at least half of the wavelength. Okay, so the antenna length must be half of the wavelength. So before explaining that further, I want to ask you, does anyone saw this AM radio stations anywhere? ఎవరైనా ఎప్పుడైనా ఎక్కడైనా రేడియో స్టేషన్ చూసారమ్మా? ఐఎమ్ టాకింగ్ అబౌట్ దిస్ వాట్ ఈస్ దిస్ AM radio. No one? Let me repeat. Does anyone saw a radio station? Okay. Okay. How many of you familiar with Rajamandri? It's just a simple question. How many of you are familiar with Rajamandri? So Indira 5, I not. Okay. Now my question, from Rajamandri, after crossing that Marampudi junction and further going on the highway, on the right side, you will be seeing one Doordarshan station. Does anyone familiar with that? దూరదర్శన్ స్టేషన్ రాజమండ్రిలో ఉందమ్మా? ఎవరైనా చూసారా ఎప్పుడైనా? తెలుసా ఉందా లేదా అనేది? I don't think so. Okay, so I will tell you a better example then. So at least everyone is familiar with FM radios, right? So to get an FM signal in your mobile, they will tell you one small constraint. What is that? FM radios almost అందరి మొబైల్స్ లోనే ఉన్నాయేమో. But if you want to access FM radio, what you need to do? Can you use FM radio without earphones? A simple question. Yeah, one question, one person gave the right answer, 540, 5J8, then 545. So surely they will ask you to plug earphones, right? Right? Now, if you take your mobile communication, your Airtel, BSNL, Jio, all these things, are you using any external antenna for that communication? Whatever antenna that is there inside your mobile, the small antenna, that is enough for that. But for FM radio, uh, the antenna within your mobile is not sufficient. You need to plug your earphones. Okay, the main reason for that is they are going to use the earphones as the antenna. That is the reason. If you instead of stretching the earphones, if you keep it in a small area, that means if you simply put it closer like loops, it won't work. You need to stretch that. Okay, so because as you can see in this particular spectrum, radio waves needs bigger antennas compared to microwaves. So microwaves is used in cell phone communication also. Okay, so whatever we are using, Airtel, Jio, BSNL, okay, Vodafone, etc., Idea, etc., all these things are using microwaves, whereas radio waves are used by FM radio. Now, as frequency, as from you are moving from radio to microwave, frequency is increasing. Okay, so radio, microwave. So in radio, less frequency, in microwave, more frequency. Wavelength is reverse. In radio, wavelength is more, in microwave, wavelength is less. Okay, so here high, low, sorry, high, low frequency, and wavelength is high, low. So as you see here, in radio, the wavelength is high. When the wavelength is high, the antenna size is half of this wavelength. That is the reason without plugging the earphone, you can't hear FM radio, where without plugging the earphones, you are able to make calls, because your call communication happens through microwave. Your radio, FM radio, happens through this radio frequency, which is less than microwave. So because of that, since the wavelength of these radio signals are more, you need bigger antennas. That is the reason, compared to FM, AM frequency is very less. So AM antennas will be something like 50 feet high, 100 feet high, like that. Whereas FM radio antennas are very small. So if you look at the cell towers, the cell tower is not the antenna. On the cell tower, you will see something like dishes. Okay, dishes are there are two types of antenna: parabolic dishes, and there are these lengthy antennas. Okay, సో మీరు సెల్ టవర్ మీద అబ్జర్వ్ చేస్తాం, సెల్ టవర్ మీద కంపల్సరీ అట్లీస్ట్ 3 కనిపిస్తాయి యాంటీనాస్, ఇలాంటివి 3 డైరెక్షన్స్ లో కవర్ చేస్తూ ఉంటాయి. ఓకే, సో దీస్ 2 టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ యాంటీనా విల్ బి సీయింగ్, విచ్ ఇస్ వెరీ స్మాల్, ఫ్యూ మీటర్స్ ఉంటాయి అంతే, not even few meters. You can see it's around 1.5 meters, something like that, this one. And this parabolic antennas, dish antennas will be something like having 1.5 feet radius, 1 feet radius, like that. So their sizes are very less compared to the FM and AM radio stations, because their wavelengths are less. Now this is for microwaves. If you take infrared, their frequency further increase. That means wavelength is further reduced. So since the wavelength is further reduced, their antennas are very small, very, very, very small. That is nothing but a small LED bulb is enough. The size of a small LED bulb is enough to generate infrared waves. Okay, so the bottom, these things shows the equivalent of their wavelength. So the wavelength of a radio wave is of size of a building, whereas the wavelength of Microwave is of size of a person, where the wavelength of infrared, somewhere in between infrared and microwave, is a size of honeybee. The size further reduced. Okay, needle, small fungus and molecules, atoms, atomic nucleus. So as you can see, as the frequency increases, the wavelength decreases. As the wavelength decreases, the antenna size decreases. So this is one major limitation. Okay. So is it clear with up to this particular point? These may not be important with respect to exams point of view, but they will give more clarity on the coming topics, whatever I am explaining now. So is it clear up to this particular point, the relation between wavelength, frequency and the antenna length? Guys, I am not getting any answers. At least tell me no. If you are unable to get it, I will explain again. But if it is clear, I will move to the next slide. I repeat, is it clear or not up to this particular point? The relation between frequencies, wavelength and antenna length. Okay, good. Now, let's move to the next slide, the actual part. So, depending on which frequencies you are using, how the signal will go through air will change. Let me show you a diagram. Look at this diagram. So if you send a signal that is up to 2 megahertz, that means 2 into 10 power hertz, the signal will simply bend and go along the surface of earth. Okay, so the ఎక్కడ రిఫ్లెక్షన్స్ కానీ ఏం అవసరం లేదమ్మా. Actually the signal will go along the atmosphere within the ionosphere. Okay, if you use a signal that is in between 2 to 30 megahertz, the signal will go in straight line manner, but it will be reflected in ionosphere. Okay, the ionosphere that is encircling our earth. Okay, but if you go beyond 30 megahertz, without, if you point them towards ionosphere, the signal will go through ionosphere, so you can't point them towards ionosphere like this sky propagation. The communication only happens in line of sight. Okay, so here, as you can see the difference here, this one is called ground propagation because the signal is going along the ground. This one is called sky propagation because you are taking the help of the ionosphere to get the signal to long distance. You can send it in line of sight also, but there is no need for that. Even though you send it to the in towards the sky, that means towards the ionosphere, the signal will get reflected and it can travel more distance. Okay, and but if you are talking about a signal more than 30 million hertz, 30 megahertz, the signal will penetrate through the ionosphere. So because of that, you can't work it like sky propagation. What you need is line of sight propagation. So remember these three diagrams. So if you look at this this table now, so the frequency ranges up to 300 kilohertz, are that is nothing but that whatever we just saw is nothing but ground propagation. So and their application. So 3 to 30 kilohertz is used in long range radio navigation. It is not radio communication, it is radio navigation. So with the navigation system that is used in aeroplanes, the navigation system that is used in this is called ships, all the things are going to use up to 30 kilohertz. From 30 to 300 kilohertz, they are also ground propagation. They are used in radio beacons and navigational locators. So radio beacons means normally when you this is also used something like here in so uh, in airports there will be one controlling station which is coordinating among all the airplanes. So that controlling station is nothing but a beacon which will generate a radio signal which will be collected by each and every plane and gets the position of the corresponding ground station. Okay, whereas the middle frequencies MF, which falls under 300 kilohertz to 3 megahertz is a ground propagation. I mean, moves from ground to sky propagation. They are used in AM radios. Okay, and from 3 to 30 megahertz, they are used in ships and aircrafts, not for this navigation purpose, but for communication purpose. Okay, and from 30 to 300 megahertz, they are used in FM radios and even TV communication, very high frequency TV communication. Okay, then these things are used in ultra high frequency TV communication and even in cell phones, pagings and satellites. Okay, so these are line of sight, which is nothing but microwaves. Okay, then the satellite communication, then the radar and satellite communication. So these things and their corresponding application areas and the corresponding propagation way of propagations are shown in this particular table. Okay, now let's start with the radio waves. So radio waves, um, radio waves, microwaves, they are not categorized based on the frequency ranges actually. Okay, so even though we say 1 gigahertz, it is not exactly 1 gigahertz, but the actual categorization came from their, I mean, what is say their behavior. Okay, so the behavior means whether they are working with the first two propagation mechanisms, okay, ground propagation and sky propagation, or it is working with line of sight propagation. So based on that only, these waves are divided into radio waves, microwaves and infrared waves. The first categorization is done purely based on the behavior. Okay, so the behavior, based on the behavior, we divided the waves into radio waves and microwaves rather than the frequency. So the radio waves advantage is they are omnidirectional. So omnidirectional means with one antenna you can send the signal in 360 degrees. Okay, there is no need to use multiple antennas to send it in multiple directions. One antenna can generate signal in all the directions. Okay, but the disadvantage is the radio waves transmitted by one antenna are susceptible to interference by other antennas. So Manam, for example, this is your antenna. You want to communicate with someone who is in this particular direction. Okay, there is, let me draw a small diagram. So this is your antenna. There is one more antenna just beside your antenna. Okay, so that is your friends. Let's say that friend is X, and there is someone else who is having a radio with their hands, that is called Y. So you are sending some communication to your friend Y, but this signal is also going in the other direction, which will be interfering with your friend X signal. Okay, so that is the problem here. The omnidirection gives you one advantage. So one antenna is enough to transmit in all the directions. The disadvantage is because of this omnidirectional nature, the signal of one antenna may be susceptible to interference of another antenna, because everyone is using the same frequency band, everyone is using omnidirectional antennas, so all their signals will collide with one another. Okay, so that is the drawback here. Now, the radio waves are particularly those waves that propagates in sky mode. That means the signal, there is no need to think about the receiver must be in my line of sight. Okay, so the signal can go to ionosphere and it will be reflected back to the receiver, even though the receiver is not in line of sight. Because of our earth nature, that is the curvature, having line of sight is very difficult. Okay, if you see in a curvature, if we have an antenna here, to get the line of sight exactly, if the signal is going in a straight line manner, the person who is here need to have a longer antenna, which is not possible practically. Okay, but because of the ionosphere, with shorter antenna you can get the signal with the same length antenna or less than an antenna also. Okay, so one advantage is that one, wavelengths propagates through sky mode and they can travel long distances. Remember this point, low frequency signals can go through what are those things, objects. Okay, low frequency signals can go through objects. Objects means walls, buildings, vehicles, TVs, whatever you take. So your signal will penetrate through those things. That's the reason your AM and FM radios can get to you. The signals can get to you even though you are within a room. Okay, that is the reason. That is, this is the reason for that particular thing. So the signals, the radio waves can go through objects, they penetrate through objects. Because of that they can travel long distance. Okay, and radio waves, particularly those of low and medium frequencies, can penetrate through us, that I just explained. Um, but the main another drawback is the bandwidth. Available bandwidth is very less. It is up to 1 gigahertz. 3 kilohertz to 1 gigahertz means you can say 3 kilohertz with respect to G. K is a small factor, so 0 to 1 gigahertz you can say. So up to 1 gigahertz bandwidth only you have. So within that 1 gigahertz you need to allocate to everyone. That is the reason there is not that many persons using AM. Okay, so AM radios only one frequency is available. You can't get multiple frequencies nowadays because it is very limited. Okay, now just give me a minute. So coming to microwaves. Microwaves are from 1 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz. So the microwaves are unidirectional. So unidirectional means they will only go in the direction where you point your antenna. Okay, and the microwave propagation is line of sight. So you can see your mobiles are using microwaves, but those signals are low frequency signals, very low frequency signals in microwaves. That's the reason they can penetrate through the walls, they can penetrate through the building. But in that same band, the high frequency signals are used by, say, one best example is dish TVs. Okay, Tata Sky, Sun Direct, all these people are using microwaves which are on the higher scale. Okay, in this 1 to 300, 1 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz. Cell phone signals are used somewhere here, whereas your dish TVs will be using somewhere here in higher range. So these signals can't penetrate through walls. That is the reason you need to put your antenna outside. Okay, but you can't just put that antenna wherever you want, in whichever direction you want. So depending on which particular, I mean, say, service provider you are using, the service providers, the installation people will come and install the antenna in a specific reason, in a specific direction, because the antenna, the TV antenna that you are using must be pointing towards the satellite. I'm not good at diagrams, I repeat. So your satellite and your satellite dish and your TV dish must be in line of sight. Otherwise, they won't get the signal. Okay, so this satellite has a specific range. So within the range, all the antennas can communicate with this, as long as this antenna, this particular antenna is small in size compared to the satellite antenna. Because of that, its line of sight is very less. So you need to clear cut point out towards this satellite's antenna. That is the reason the installation charges will be received from you, because the people will come, they need to install. You can't install because you don't know in which direction exactly you need to put. Okay, and in which frequency you need to set. Okay, so because of these reasons, we need that installation separately from the service providers. Okay, so you may be using these antennas mostly, and there is other type of antenna which is called horn antenna. Okay, so these horn antennas are used in some locations, especially in satellite communications. Not I am not talking about TV to satellite communication. I am talking about satellite to satellite communication, satellite to control station communications. There they may be using, and the other places will be um, uh, you can say one direction communication that is happening in small LAN cables, LANs, wireless LANs. In some LANs, they are using these microwaves. Okay, so these are about this. So microwaves are unidirectional. Microwaves propagation is line of sight. Okay, without line of sight, most of the signal will not be sent to the receiver. Some signals in the beginning part of the microwaves can go through walls. Okay, so use of certain portion of the band requires permission from authorities. That is the reason these Airtel, BSNL, all these people will be purchasing spectrum from the government. 2G spectrum కుంభకోణం, 3G spectrum కుంభకోణం అంటారు. అంటే ఏం లేదు, ఈ స్పెక్ట్రమ్ గవర్నమెంట్ నుంచి పర్చేస్ చేసేటప్పుడు జరిగిన ఫైనాన్షియల్ ఫ్రాడ్స్ నే మన ఈ కుంభకోణాలు 2G కుంభకోణం, 3G కుంభకోణం కాల్ చేస్తూ ఉంటారు. సో దే నీడ్ టు పర్చేస్ దోస్ థింగ్స్ ఫ్రమ్ ద గవర్నమెంట్. సో యూ కాంట్ యూజ్ దట్ పర్టికులర్ ఫ్రీక్వెన్సీ బ్యాండ్ వితౌట్ పర్చేసింగ్ ఇట్ ఫ్రమ్ ద గవర్నమెంట్. ఓకే, so the disadvantage of this particular thing is very high frequencies cannot penetrate through the walls, whereas the advantage is so the microwave band is relatively wide. That means 299 gigahertz. That means 300 times than the radio waves. Okay, radio waves bandwidth is 1 gigahertz. Okay, that means you have very narrow bandwidth, whereas in microwave you have 300 gigahertz, very high compared to radio waves. So you can separate it and you can sell it to multiple people. So these 299 hertz are separated in so many ways. Okay, part of the signal is separated and is allocated for mobile communication. Part of the signal is separated and sold for this TV communication. Okay, satellite TV communication, and part of the signal is separated and used in satellite communication by the government. So there are multiple possibilities with this particular frequencies microwaves because they are huge. Okay, so that is about these microwaves. Okay, coming to infrared. So infrared, as you can see, as the frequency increase from radio to microwave, they are not at all going through walls. Okay, at least you can see the mobiles are able to penetrate through walls. But if you go to infrared, which is from 300 gigahertz to 400 terahertz, the signal can't go through wall. Okay, you need line of sight communication. That is the reason they are used in even TV remote controls. Okay, TV or any remote controls, you are going to use infrared. And previously, these are used in smart range communication. So ఇప్పుడు మనం ఫైల్స్ ఏమైనా షేర్ చేయాలంటే షేర్ ఇట్ యూస్ చేస్తున్నాం, అవునా కదా? వీఆర్ యూజింగ్ షేర్ ఇట్ ఫర్ file transferring purpose. Yes or no? We are using share it. Can anyone tell me share it which medium they are share it is used, whether it is using wireless, Wi-Fi or Bluetooth? Simple question. Share it uses Wi-Fi or share it uses Bluetooth? I not Indra, I will come back to you at the ending. You can lower your hand. So everyone is clear. So they are using Wi-Fi. So how many years back the share it is introduced? You can say it is just introduced a few years back, 3, 4 mostly. I can't remember exactly. Before that, how you people used to transfer do the communication, file transferring? మూవీస్ పంపించుకోవాలన్నా లేకపోతే ఏమైనా ఆడియో ఫైల్స్ పంపించాలన్నా ఎలా పంపించేవాళ్ళు మమ్మ? సో 5K2 చెప్పినట్టు బ్లూటూత్ తో పంపించేవాళ్ళు. ఇప్పుడు వైఫై వచ్చింది, స్పీడ్ గా అవుతుంది. ఒక మూవీ పంపించాలంటే జస్ట్ విత్ ఇన్ ఫ్యూ మినిట్స్ you are able to send with the help of share it like apps which uses Wi-Fi. Before that, we depend on Bluetooth, where Bluetooth can send a movie for like 30 minutes like that. Okay, before Bluetooth we used to communicate. During my BTech communication, I can see I saw people exchange songs between their mobiles using infrared. So ఆ infrared communication కూడా ఎలా ఉండేదంటే, so at that time the first mobile normally, as far as I can remember, the first manufacturer introduced this file transfer facility is Sony Ericsson. Okay, so in Sony Ericsson, on the side of the Sony Ericsson mobiles, especially in Walkman series, we are going to have a small patch, a oval shaped patch, a black patch on side of it. Okay, if you want to exchange information with another mobile, that mobile also need to have that patch. Now you need to put those mobiles closer with one another in the way that those two patches, the black patches, will align with one another. Then only you can send data. పొరపాటున మొబైల్స్ కదిలినా కొంచెం దూరం వెళ్ళినా they can't communicate with one another, so data transfer will be failed. Okay, then we came to Bluetooth. Now we are using Wi-Fi. We can't even say what we are going to use in the future. I can say light we are going to use in the future for data transfer. So for now we are at Wi-Fi. So in the beginning they are used, the infrared signals are used in short range communication. So the main disadvantage of infrared is they can't penetrate through walls. So because of that reason, it is also gives you one advantage. When you have two TVs in two rooms, there is no need to think about changing channel in one TV in one room will be affecting the other TV. That is not possible because this particular disadvantage is converted into an advantage. So ఈ disadvantage ఏదైతే ఉందో, can't penetrate through walls, these manufacturers made it into an advantage. So when people having multiple TVs in different rooms, there is no need to worry about that remote in one room will be changing channel in another room. When you see in your AC remote, for example, so if you have multiple ACs in your home in every room, there is no need to worry about reducing or increasing temperature in one room AC with remote will be changing the other room also. It is not possible because the signal can't penetrate through walls. Okay, so that is the disadvantage as well as advantage. Now these are the applications of waves. Okay, so radio waves are omnidirectional characteristics useful for multicasting. So multicasting means combining multiple mediums, multiple signals together and sending them. Okay, so the applications are AM radios, FM radios, television, and maritime radios, cordless phones, paging. So cordless phones means, as you can see, the phones that we are using nowadays also in landlines. Okay, and microwaves, due to their unidirectional properties, they are used in unicast communication. So especially in cell phones, satellite networks, and wireless LANs. Okay, so cell phone tower మీద నేను మీకు ఇంతకు ముందు చెప్పాను చూసారమ్మా, 3 యాంటీనాస్ కనిపిస్తాయి కంపల్సరీ ప్రతి టైప్ యాంటీనా కూడా. సో 3 యాంటీనా ఎందుకంటే ప్రతి యాంటీనా కవర్స్ 120 degrees. సో బై హ్యావింగ్ 3 యాంటీనాస్, you can cover 120 degrees each. So total 360 degrees coverage you are getting. So microwaves are unidirectional, so they are using them for cell phone. Okay, so when you study mobile computing in final year, I think you will understand the advantages that you will get because of this particular mechanism, multiple antenna requirement. This is the disadvantage. Instead of single antenna, you are using multiple antennas because you are using unidirectional waves. But because of that, you are also getting advantage. I don't want to explain that advantage. It's very empty concept, but you will get that when you move to final year. Okay, and infrared. So the infrared band is almost 400 terahertz. So they can be used for data transmission. Because of that only they are used in short range data transmission. Okay, so communication between devices such as keyboards, mouse, so PCs, printers, mobiles, using special ports. Okay, infrared ports. So one widely used application is remote controllers. So whatever remote controllers you are using, mostly they will be designed based on infrareds only. So these are the different wireless unguided transmission mediums and their properties and their applications. Okay, so I hope everything is clear up to this particular point. Respond in the chat box. Is it clear with these things? Okay, good. Now there is two small topics that I want to discuss, because these topics are not included in your syllabus, but without these topics you can't understand the remaining topics. Transmission mediums are there. Immediately after that in your syllabus you will see FDM, TDM, those things, frequency division multiplexing, time division multiplexing technique. But to understand multiplexing technique you need to understand this modulation technique. So to go through this modulation techniques, let's start. So wires and wireless channels carries analog signals such as continuously varying voltages, continuously varying light signals, continuously varying sound intensity. Okay, so your laptops or your mobiles not actually generates data in analog format, they generate data in digital format. So how this digital format data is converted into continuously varying voltages or in light intensities or sound intensities. So they will be converted by using digital modulation. Okay, so digital modulation, what is meant by digital modulation means the process of converting digital signals into continuously varying analog signals. Okay, I repeat, you better note it down. A simple definition: a digital modulation means uh, converting digital signals into continuously varying analog signals. The process of converting digital signals into continuously varying analog signals is called digital modulation. Okay, now for digital modulation to have, you have two mechanisms. Okay, so the mechanisms are baseband transmission, passband transmission. So there are two schemes, two mechanisms. So in baseband transmission your digital signal will be, your digital information zeros and ones will be directly converted into a signal. Okay, whereas in passband transmission your digital information is used for regulating amplitude or phase or frequency of a carrier. So I already explained what is meant by amplitude, what is meant by phase, what is meant by frequency in our first class of this unit. Now for a high frequency signal you are going to change one of these properties with respect to your data. Let me show you one example. So this one is called baseband transmission, where you are converting your zeros and ones into the corresponding signal. So the simplest one is the first one, that is non-return to zero, where a high signal, a positive voltage is used for one, a negative voltage is used for zero. Okay, so this is called non-return to zero signal, where a high signal is used for one, a low signal is used for zero. Positive signal is for one, negative signal is for zero. Okay, so this is the simplest. So there are other ways. So the other ways, as you can see here, so this is one thing. So can anyone tell me what is the logic in the second signal, NRZ I, by looking at the figure? సిగ్నల్స్ ని ఆ డేటా నుంచి, ఆ పైన కనిపిస్తున్న డేటా నుంచి, ఈ బిట్ స్ట్రీమ్ నుంచి ఈ సిగ్నల్ ఎలా జనరేట్ చేశారు? కెన్ ఎనీవన్ టెల్ మీ? ఎనీవన్ గెస్? మీరు ఇక్కడ అబ్జర్వ్ చేస్తే హై, జీరో, లో, 1 అనడానికి లేదమ్మా. ఓకే, as you can see here all these highs represent 0, whereas this low represents 0 here. But one thing is you can see, so let me explain. So start from second bit. If your bit is 0, continue with the last bits signal level. So last bit 1, so then signal level anta ikkada high lo undi. So since your bit is 0, there is no change. Remember this point in NRZ I, 0 means no change, 1 means change. I repeat, in NRZI, 0 means no change, 1 means change. Okay, so depending on whether there is a change or not, you are going to say which bit it is. So here if you look, so till this particular point you got high signal. You continuously getting high signal. That means this bit is 0, this bit is 0, this bit is 0, this bit is 0. Now here, up to this particular point you got high signal. This high signal in the middle of your time slot is dropped to 0. That means there is a change in the signal level. That means it is a 1 bit. Then it is 0, so no change. Then it is 1. So low to high, again there is a change. Then 1, so again high to low. Then 1, low to high. Then 1, high to low. So NRZ invert means changing the signal levels based on your getting 1 or 0. 0 means no change, 1 means change. So is it clear with this NRZI? I repeat, is it clear with how this NRZI is working? I got only one response. So let me repeat. So I will explain one more time. So when you get 0, you are not going to change the signal level. You are going to keep the signal level in the same level, whatever you started hearing in the beginning. Okay, in that interval. So these vertical lines represents intervals. So if you look at this second bit, it is 0. So in the beginning of that interval, you received high, you are continuing the high signal. Okay, so previous bit ended with high. So you are going to continue with that high. So you are going to send high signal continuously for that interval. Then also another 0. So you are going to continue with that high. Then also another 0, you are going to continue. Suddenly you got 1. So immediately what you will do is, since the signal that we sent till now is high signal, since the current bit is 1, let's change that to 0, low signal. Okay, so whenever you get 1, change the level. Whenever you get 0, keep the same level, so that the signal will be generated in this specific format. Okay, so that is about NRZ. So before going into Manchester, I need to explain one more thing. So clock recovery, as you can see here. So for all the schemes, the encode bits into symbols, the receiver must know when one symbol ends and when the next symbol begins. So if you look at this diagram, I said that this vertical lines shows the time intervals. So with this vertical line, the last symbol ends, the new symbol begins. With this vertical lines, the last symbol ends, the new symbol begins. Okay, from this vertical line, the last symbol ends, the new symbol begins. So this you know as the sender. How the receiver will know? You need to keep the receiver in the sync, right? So to keep the receiver in the sync, you have two mechanisms. ఓకే, సో అలా కాదు, సింక్ లో ఉండడానికి స్టార్టింగ్ ఒకసారి వినండి అమ్మ క్లియర్గా. నేను ప్రతి లైక్ 0.1 మిల్లీ సెకండ్కి ఒక సింబల్ పంపిస్తానని ఫిక్స్ అయిపోయాను చెప్పారు. మీరు అలాగే అని చెప్పి ఫిక్స్ అయిపోయారు. ఇప్పుడు మళ్ళీ సింక్ ఎందుకు, అసలు ఈ అవసరం ఎందుకు వచ్చింది అంటే సింపుల్ అమ్మ. జనరేటింగ్ ఎగ్జాక్ట్ ఫ్రీక్వెన్సీస్ ఇన్ యువర్ సిస్టమ్, దట్ మీన్స్ నేను చెప్పింది టైం 0.1 మిల్లీ సెకండ్ అని చెప్పేసి, అసలు 0.1 మిల్లీ సెకండ్ మీరు ఎలా క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తారు? మీ సిస్టమ్ లో ఒక టైమర్ ఉంటుంది, ఆ టైమర్ యూజ్ చేస్తారు. బట్ ఆ టైమర్ ఎగ్జాక్ట్ గా రన్ అవుతూ ఉంటుంది అంటే అవ్వదు. దట్ టైమ్ ఈజ్ నాట్ పర్ఫెక్ట్. ఓకే, ద టైమర్ కాంట్ exactly maintain the time up to milliseconds, microseconds. In our digital communication, we are sending like 1 million bits per second. అంటే మీరు ఒక సెకండ్ లో 10⁻⁻6 సెకండ్స్ ని క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేయగలగాలి. సో ఎవ్రీ 10⁻⁻6 సెకండ్స్ కి ఓకే ఇక్కడ ఒక ఇంటర్వెల్ అయింది, నెక్స్ట్ ఇంటర్వెల్ స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది అని చెప్పేసి మీ సిస్టమ్ లో మీరు ఆ ప్రాసెసింగ్ కంటిన్యూ చేస్తూ ఉండాలి. బట్ అంత ఎగ్జాక్ట్ గా అంత మినిమం క్వాంటిటీలో టైం మెజర్ చేసే ఎక్విప్మెంట్ అంటూ చీప్ గా అవైలబుల్ గా ఉండదు. సో ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ ఎ రియల్ ఎక్విప్మెంట్ which can maintain clock at that minimal level, you need to spend lakhs of rupees on your computers, on your laptops, on your mobiles, which is not practically possible. సో ద అదర్ అప్రోచ్ ఈజ్ అలా అని చెప్పేసి వదిలేసామనుకోండి, ఇప్పుడు కంటిన్యూస్ గా జీరోస్ కానీ కంటిన్యూస్ గా వన్స్ కానీ డేటాలో ఉంటే ఏమవుతుంది, ఇది కంటిన్యూస్ గా మీకు ఏమనిపిస్తుంది, 4 బిట్స్ ఇక్కడ ఈ వెర్టికల్ లైన్స్ ఉన్నాయి కాబట్టి. వెర్టికల్ లైన్స్ లేకపోతే మీరు కొంచెం కొంచెం డివియేట్ అయ్యి you may think that these 4 bits may appear like 5 bits to the receiver, or these 4 bits may appear like 3 bits to the receiver, because he is missing this thing. In the beginning you both fixed that okay 0.1 millisecond means one interval, but in his clock this 0.1 starts reducing slow by little by little. When you send continuous bits of say thousands of zeros, what happens is when you send 1000 zeros, he will think that it is 1001 zeros. 1 zero extra he will think. Because of that, entire communication is collapsed. So to avoid that, when you send long runs of zeros or 1, the signal will be unchanged. When you go with the encoding mechanisms like NRZ or NRZI, ఇక్కడ మీరు కంటిన్యూస్ జీరోస్ ఉన్నప్పుడు ప్రాబ్లం, ఇక్కడ మీకు కంటిన్యూస్ జీరోస్ ఉన్నా కంటిన్యూస్ వన్స్ ఉన్న ప్రాబ్లం. సో అలాంటి సిచ్యువేషన్స్ ని ఓవర్కమ్ చేయడానికి యూ హ్యావ్ 2 mechanisms. సో one mechanism is sending a separate clock signal. So by sending a clock signal in a separate wire can help you, so that the receiver will do the XOR operation between the received AND operation between the received signal and the clock signal. He will get the actual output, or the sender itself can send the clock embedded into the message. So instead of sending NRZ, if you perform AND operation this NRZ with clock, you will get this Manchester. So one ni so AND operation reverse లో అవ్వచ్చమ్మా, సేమ్ అవ్వచ్చు. ఇక్కడ మీరు అబ్జర్వ్ చేస్తే రివర్స్ లో జరుగుతుంది. సో 1 కి ఈ లో హై హై లో అవుతుంది, జీరోకి జీరో అంటే నెగిటివ్ వోల్టేజ్ కదా, సో రివర్స్ థింక్ చేస్తే జీరో వచ్చినప్పుడు యాజ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ గా క్లాక్ అలాగే వెళ్తుంది. ఓకే, 1 వచ్చినప్పుడు క్లాక్ రివర్స్ అవుతుంది. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద సింపుల్ లాజిక్. బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ పర్టికులర్ రీజన్, ద మాక్సిమం విడ్త్ ఆఫ్ ఎనీ సిగ్నల్ దట్ యు గెట్ ఈస్ 1 time interval. మీకు కంటిన్యూస్ గా జీరోస్ వచ్చినా కంటిన్యూస్ గా వన్స్ వచ్చినా మీ సిగ్నల్ అయితే కంటిన్యూస్ గా హై గానీ కంటిన్యూస్ గా లో గానీ ఉండిపోవద్దు. యువర్ సిగ్నల్ విల్ బి చేంజింగ్ లెవెల్స్. By using these levels itself, you can resync yourself at some point. So okay, ఒక 100 bits 1000 bits రిసీవ్ చేసుకున్న తర్వాత డౌట్ వస్తుంది, సింక్ లో ఉన్నామా కంటిన్యూ అవుతున్నామా మిస్ అవుతున్నామా అని. సో ప్రతి 1000 bits కి ఒకసారి మీ క్లాక్ ని మీరే ఈ రిసీవ్ అవుతున్న సిగ్నల్ బేస్ చేసుకుని రీసింక్ చేసేసుకుంటూ ఉంటాం. సో బికాస్ దిస్ రిసీవింగ్ సిగ్నల్ విల్ బి చేంజింగ్ కంటిన్యూస్లీ. హైయెస్ట్ విడ్త్ టు 1 interval, least signal width, least level width half of the interval. So based on that you are going to decide that okay, so I can readjust myself. Okay, so that is one thing, that is what is meant by clock recovery. So because of that clock recovery only this Manchester encoding came into picture. So in Manchester encoding you are going to perform AND operation with your actual signal with clock signal. Okay, not AND operation, sorry, XOR operation, remember that. Now the other thing is balanced signal. So the important of this balanced signal is when you send data, if you are using things like this NRZ or NRI, say for every 1000 bits you are going to get the average of this received signal. So when you send 1000 zeros, your signal is going to be 1000 lows, so average will be -5 volts, let's say. When you send 1000 ones, the signal is going to be, the average will be 5. So if both highs and lows are equal, then your signal's average will be 0. So that signal which is having zero average, that is nothing but no DC component, is called balanced signal. So the having a balanced signal gives you two advantages. One is provides transitions for clock recovery. As you can see here, Manchester encoding is a balanced signal. మీరు ఒక say 10 bits తర్వాత చెక్ చేస్తే after every 10 bits your signals average will be 0. So high low average 0, high low 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 0, low high 0, high low 0. So ప్రతి బిట్ బ్యాలెన్స్ ఎప్పుడైతే మీరు ప్రతి బిట్ కి obviously there is no need to worry about losing the sync. So in balanced signal, transition of clock recovery is possible, and it will also help the receivers to calibrate. Okay, so calibrate ante సో ప్రతి సిగ్నల్ ని బేస్ చేసుకుని ఓకే 5 volts వస్తున్నాయి లేదా నాకు 3 volts వస్తుంది, సో 3 volts వస్తే హై సిగ్నల్ అనమాట, నాకు 3 volts వస్తుంది ఎప్పటికీ అని చెప్పేసి ఫిక్స్ అవ్వడానికి ఛాన్సెస్ ఉంటుంది. అలా కాకుండా మీ సిగ్నల్ లో కంటిన్యూస్ వన్స్ కంటిన్యూస్ జీరోస్ ఉండి బ్యాలెన్స్ సిగ్నల్ కాదనుకోండి, ఇమీడియట్ గా వాట్ హ్యాపెన్స్ ఈజ్ సమ్ టైమ్స్ ఇఫ్ యూ వెన్ హీ క్యాలిక్యులేట్ ద యావరేజ్ హీ విల్ గెట్ 5 volts, సమ్ టైమ్స్ హీ విల్ గెట్ 3 volts, సమ్ టైమ్స్ హీ విల్ గెట్ 2 volts. సో హీ కాంట్ ఫిక్స్ హిమ్సెల్ఫ్ what is meant by 0 and what is meant by 1. So that is the problem. So this is about the balanced signal and clock recovery. Okay, and this is passband transmission. So in passband transmission, as I said, you are going to change a feature of a high frequency analog signal with respect to your data. So as you can see, this is your data 0 1 0 1 1 0 0 1 0 0 1 0. So to send this signal, you have three procedures. One is changing amplitude of the carrier signal. So this is your carrier signal. So changing the amplitude. So meer signal 0 ఉన్నప్పుడు amplitude 0, signal మీ data 1 ఉన్నప్పుడు amplitude as it is గా continue చేయాలి. So 0 ఉంటే amplitude 0, 1 ఉంటే your actual amplitude. So that is nothing but amplitude shift key. So shifting your amplitude with respect to a baseband signal, that is nothing but that baseband signal is going to be key for your amplitude shifting. If you look here, when you have 1, send high frequency, when you have 0, send low frequency. I repeat, when you have 1, high frequency, when you have 0, low frequency. So you are going to change the frequency component of your carrier signal with respect to data. Now this one is phase shifting. So the phase is shifted by 180 degrees here. So it is a binary phase shift keying. Okay, so when you send 0, your signal is shifted by 180 degrees. Just look here, let me draw. So since 1 no shift, you send this signal, then actual signal is this one, but you shifted it by 180 degrees. So ఈ సిగ్నల్ 180 degrees షిఫ్ట్ అయితే ఈ పార్ట్ ముందుకు వస్తుందమ్మా. సో వాట్ యు విల్ గెట్ ఈస్, సో దిస్ ఈజ్ యువర్ 1, దెన్ యు విల్ completely skip off of the cycle, you will continue the next part. So 180 degrees phase shift is happening in this. So this is called phase shift key. So we have 3 mechanisms. Okay, so amplitude shift keying, frequency shift keying, and phase shift keying, where the phase of the carrier signal is changing. So as you can see here, at every bit change, you are changing the phase. So continuous zeros వస్తుంటే సేమ్ ఫ్రీక్వెన్సీ సేమ్ ఫేజ్ కంటిన్యూ అవుతుంది. సో 0 వచ్చింది, ఇక్కడ వరకు వచ్చాం, మళ్ళీ 0 వచ్చింది కాబట్టి అదే కంటిన్యూ, 1 వచ్చింది కాబట్టి చేంజ్ చేసేయండి. ఓకే, మళ్ళీ 0 వచ్చింది కాబట్టి చేంజ్ చేయండి, మళ్ళీ 0 కాబట్టి కంటిన్యూ చేయండి. సో 1 కాబట్టి చేంజ్, 0 కాబట్టి చేంజ్, మళ్ళీ 0 కాబట్టి కంటిన్యూ. సో 0 మీన్స్ ప్లస్ 180, 1 మీన్స్ without 180. Okay, so that is about phase shift key. So you can see the theoretical part of this on the left side. So that is passband transmission, and that is the end of today's session. So this session may be a little bit boring as well as a little bit difficult for you to understand, because these concepts are related to ECE more compared to CSE. That is the reason why they have not included these things into your syllabus. But still, if you understand these things, then it is easy for you to learn the remaining unit. Okay, so this physical air unit will be easy for you to understand if you can understand these concepts. So if you have any queries, just before getting the queries, do one thing: you can go through the textbook, or you can again listen to this particular video. Okay, so I have placing every recording at the end of the session in the recorded classes. Okay, so go through the video again by keeping the PDF textbook, or if you have, since you don't have hard copies, you can keep the PDF copies of the textbooks, and just while listening the class, go through the textbook, you will understand it clearly. Okay, because of the time constraint, I can't go through every detail of these topics which are not included in our syllabus. So I am just guiding you to learn these things. But to get clarity, you better re-listen this video along with the textbooks. Okay, so I'm going to end the session. So before ending this, as every day you need to attempt the quiz, and those who have doubts, you can stay. The remaining can leave the session.